Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry Channel. And with me tonight, our panel of minions is Sora Luna.
Hello.
DrFunctional.
Hello.
Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
And our guest tonight is Jack Gunski.
Not Jack Gunski. I've replaced him with KGB operative.
I'm on a tremendous amount of drugs right now.
Woo!
All right,
Drugs?
we're
You
going
want
to be...
drugs?
Oh,
we're
I
actually
have-
gonna be
I have
talking about drugs
alcohol.
later.
I should get
Sweet.
alcohol.
Yeah,
We all know that drugs mix best with alcohol.
some of them only dissolve in alcohol, you know. But you'd never go full Dorothy Kilgallen. Anyway.
No.
That's mean. You're
No, it's
mean.
not.
I
It's
am
truthful.
So let's begin with you, Jack.
Hey,
since
it
you're
was
our-
it was the mob, and everyone knows it.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. Sure.
You
Who's
doing
your
okay,
mom?
there,
She
man?
had children, for God's sake.
Are you doing okay, man? Do we need to have an intervention? Or
Yeah.
You okay?
I wrote a letter, Jack, to express my feelings about your drug taking.
I think this is going to be a chaos stream,
Welcome
Harry.
to the intervention of Jack Gunski tonight.
I think it's too late.
We actually are going to talk about drugs later.
Oh, drugs.
I know, how exciting.
Yay.
Specifically, we'll be talking about how many of Grandma's old prescriptions that you find are probably still active. But later, but before then,
Oh,
we
I already know
actually-
the answer to that question.
Do you do drugs, Billy?
Yes.
do you remember, hey Skep, what was it, Suicidal Tendencies? I think they did that song where the kids just institutionalize him.
Institutionalized.
Oh,
All I wanted was a
institutionalized.
Pepsi.
I used to think that
Oh,
song was
yeah,
really
yeah.
funny, and I still do.
I do too.
Oh, it is
I
funny.
haven't thought about it in a long time.
I'm just sitting
It
in
is
my
funny.
room,
Yeah, Jack's right.
thinking about everything, thinking about nothing.
Damn, Harry. Damn.
Mom comes in, you're on drugs. Anyway, so you're good, Jack. Is there anything you want to say before we get started?
Other than the tremendous amount of drugs that I'm on, no.
Drugs.
Well, if you start snoring, I will mute you
And then we'll come back to you every once in a while.
Illegal,
to see if you're
is
still
this-
alive.
Is this an illegal smile?
No, it's not.
Okay, so I'm guessing we had an accident or a medical procedure, and we're taking semi-synthetic codeine analog.
No. It's like I'm just a boatload of antidepressants.
Oh, the best kind.
But you went on a long run today, so that's good.
That's true. I'm on pain relievers right now, like just
Oh.
standard Tylenol and ibuprofen. But I went for basically a what do you call
In
it?
old age, it's what we call food. But go ahead.
Yeah, it was a half marathon. I went for a half marathon, pretty much.
Because Jack was like, let me see how far I can take this. And that never ends horribly for any man.
You know, Jack, when you're sore from doing that, you know what the best thing to do is? Walk it off. That's the answer to everything. Let me get to everybody else here before we get too much further. Hey, Functional, how's it going?
Aye.
You doing all right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, big boy.
Just checking on everybody's just doing a wellness check on the panel.
I want
Time of
drugs.
year again. Wellness check.
Sora, how about you?
I'm good.
Good.
I have a almost fully drunk venti pumpkin, half sweet pumpkin spice latte iced in front of me.
Nice.
So I'm feeling jittery.
So what size is venti for in normal speak? Is it
20
small,
ounces.
medium, or
20
large?
ounces.
That's the minimum one? The medium
No.
one?
That's the maximum,
That's the biggest.
Oh.
or
It
at least
was-
the
it
maximum you
was-
can get in Canada.
Wow.
It was supposed to be very, and they got a bunch of cups printed with the wrong thing, and Starbucks just said, oh, "We'll go with it."
Wait,
been a
what was
Freudian
it supposed
thing.
to be?
It was supposed to be very venti, so it just means venti small or venti big. It was supposed to be very large, very big.
Yeah. Somebody heard variable venturi and then it got turned into venti. It's just, just a
Nice.
engineering
Very
humor
little
there.
Venturi, sure. Yeah.
Let's
Nerd.
see.
Supposedly, I think in America we also have the Trenta, which is the largest. Yeah, the Trenta is
Oh,
31
I think
ounces.
I think we might have that for like the juices, like if you get like the tea drinks and stuff. I think we do, but not if you go for anything with caffeine. I don't think they legally are allowed to sell
Well,
something
the
about the
venti.
amount of caffeine in it.
By the way,
What
if you really want to know why it's called a venti, I don't want to mislead anybody. It's because it's 20 ounces. Venti means 20. And
Unless it's
In
ironically,
Italian.
unless it's cold, unless it's iced, and then if it's iced, it's 24 ounces. At least that's what the Starbucks site says.
I just want these places to sell big drinks again. 32 ounces should be the minimum.
Go to a gas station, suck it up.
Yeah, if I'm going
I-
to spill
I-
coffee on my crotch when I'm driving, I want it to be at least 32 ounces.
Exactly.
What's
Just saturate.
the extra large Tim Hortons? Because that's what I usually order from Tim Hortons. I order an extra large steep tea, 2 cream, 1.5 sugar. That's my order. If anyone would like to get me some.
Mhm. Well, isn't there some
I
sort of
love their
Venmo
steep
shill
tea.
thing where we can just send you coffee money or something?
There's coffee, like ko.fi, I think.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
coffee, and then there's buy me a coffee and stuff like that.
So that's not a Kofi Annan fan site?
That's
Nope.
just what I was about to make that joke.
Just
Just
beat you,
go in there too.
just beat you to the punch.
The extra large Tim Hortons is 24 ounces.
There you go.
32 ounce minimum, man. That's all I'm saying.
That can take me, depending on how bad the day at work is, that can either take me to lunch or all through the whole day. And sometimes I need 2.
Let's do
Also,
this. Slams on the table.
I think that we should also sometimes, occasionally, once or twice a week, forgo coffee altogether and just start drinking Mountain Dew.
No, thank you.
Ew, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Well, there are some people who drink Mountain Dew a lot.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
it's different in Canada?
Is it?
Everything.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean? Oh,
Yeah,
you
it's more like an orange soda, and there's no caffeine.
Yeah. us, it's
In the States,
caffeinated.
it's
And
more, citrusy and has caffeine.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. At some point, I'm sure I'll make my way back down and I can try it. I like Mountain Dew.
Mm.
Mountain
Well, we
Dew
have so many
is
different flavors of Mountain
glorious.
Dew now. You're gonna have to.
Oh my god, there's one right now that I saw at 7-Eleven, Mountain Dew Gold, which is like pineapple flavored, and it looks like dehydrated urine. It is
They're-
so unappealing. Why would they color any soda drink that color?
The only 2 Mountain Dew flavors that I've ever liked that weren't Mountain Dew were they have the Baja Blast, which is only available through Taco Bell.
Yep.
And
Here, I've purchased it at Dollarama. So it's
yeah,
like a dollar
I've
store.
seen it kind of pop up here and there, but it's kind of lore at this point that you can
Yeah.
only get it at Taco Bell. The other one, there was a long time ago, like maybe a decade ago, there was a very temporary flavor. It was Mountain Dew Sangria, and it
Oh.
was goddamn delicious. It was wonderful. It didn't taste like Mountain Dew at all, but by its own merits, it was awesome.
Oh, Sangria Blast. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it since, but it was very good. But Mountain Dew in general is the standard.
I
Why
wanted,
are you on drugs?
I wanted to add something to this, by the way. The Mountain Dew in Canada is actually caffeinated. It used to not be caffeinated, but in 2012, the Pepsi Cola company began to add caffeine back in and sell it in Canada. In fact, the only caffeine-free Mountain Dew sold in the world, wait for it,
France.
sold in the United States.
Oh.
Pepsi Cola makes a side product that's caffeine free.
Free
Mountain Dew.
I would be
don't know why
willing
you-
to try.
I don't know why you
that.
would drink it. Interestingly enough, each bottle of 16 ounces of Mountain Dew has 54 milligrams of caffeine in it. How much do you think a standard 4-ounce cup of coffee has?
Less than that.
No, 136, 2.5
Yeah.
times as much.
I thought it was
Yeah.
135, but we won't quibble.
That tells you how much I drink coffee. I don't drink coffee. so
A,
no,
Doesn't
a-
espresso have like
a lo-
300 or something?
a large iced coffee from McDonald's has about 300 milligrams of caffeine in it.
Woo!
No,
Up
it
for
doesn't.
dibs!
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
I'm pretty. That's what I read.
If you had 300 milligrams of coffee, do you know what would happen to you, the cardiac tissue in your chest? It would explode. No, you did.
COVID spike proteins protect from caffeine overdose.
Yeah,
It's
really.
a fact. No, it's not a fact.
Thank
So does
God.
being a millennial.
Thank God for COVID. No.
Yeah, we got a vaccine for that. Drink all the
promise
coffee you
it does
want.
not have. It does not have that much caffeine in it. It would kill that. That would overwhelm you. If anyone who drank a whole one would have to go to the hospital.
Well,
Uh,
200 milligrams. Okay, 2 cups of coffee is basically 300 milligrams. I've seen people drink 2 cups of coffee and not burst into flames.
Yeah.
It's so many people drinking it, and not everybody, but you would have a. Hold on, it's easy enough to find out. Hang
No,
on.
I'm
So,
going to tell
I've
you.
got a secret site, and I'll let you know.
That's cool, but I'm going to tell you a very quick story. I had a former business partner, good friend of mine, and we had this mutual friend who was a fantastic guy, but he was very caffeinated. He was an older gentleman. He'd wear suspenders. Cool guy, one of my favorite people, but he was seriously caffeinated. So as a joke, my friend sent him these extra strong, extra caffeinated coffee beans and then a couple bottles of caffeinated water. And after he sent it off, he said, "Oh my God, I just realized, I'll bet he made the coffee with the water."
Yeah, I was like,
So we called him up and he did.
it's like, oh no.
By the way, 16-ounce McDonald's coffee was measured to have 145 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah.
So
but
it's pretty weak.
large.
It's pretty weak then. So 16 ounces. Well, okay. Yeah,
That's
that's
a
actually weak for coffee.
What about liter cola?
That's actually quite weak for coffee. 16 fluid. Yeah, this is backed up by 2 studies. So I'm going to go with it.
Yeah, but a large is going to be like 24 ounces.
No, is it really?
Large is 21 to 24. Extra large, which some McDonald's
Oh,
sells, 32.
a cup of coffee you're talking about?
What?
We're drinking.
There's-
No,
A
I said
schooner by a
a large coffee, a large iced coffee at McDonald's, which I believe is about 24
I
ounces.
heard you say coffee. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say iced coffee.
Iced coffee. Okay, now
Okay.
we've figured out the caffeine thing. Who have I not spoken to yet about their day? I think Skep.
And
Yes.
me, I believe.
Well, okay, Serenity,
yeah,
because
speak
I'm
to
working my way
Serenity
down.
first.
Serenity, how was your day other than busy?
Other than turning the water off at my grandmother's old house, she's passed away, audience. It's
Mhm.
okay.
She knows what she did.
Yeah,
Turn
exactly.
that water off.
This way we can track where if there's a
That-
leak or if there's not a leak when I turn the
Enough
water back
sass
on.
from you.
It's been a good day.
Cut me a switch, Harry.
Just whoosh. Other than that, it's been good. It's been getting cold around here because we've been getting down close to almost 32 degrees at night. So the fall is coming. / winter. But the fall is coming.
Yeah, it's it's fall here in California too, but we really only have one big season. We have 2 seasons. We have summer and a season that I like to call sprawl, which is basically spring plus fall, and then every now and then there will be brief periods of atypical winter-like weather.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we have sprawl and we have summer. Sprawl is where it's cold and gloomy, but doesn't rain ever. And summer is where it's hot and everything's on fire. So those are your 2 seasons in California, and we're entering sprawl.
Well,
Oh,
it's
I
like,
those was homeless and street poop.
I believe. Which day coming up?
I'm curious. Does the stormwater runoff system direct to the sewage now by necessity in California?
It always did.
The dogs
And
say
he
so.
took that personally.
Yeah, they were like, piss off. But yeah, no, because it's the beginning, because it's mid-October, that means Bridge Day happened today. Which, for those who do not know what Bridge Day is, because that will be most of you, except for maybe Skep. Bridge Day is, we have one of the largest bridges. Well, we used to have the largest, but one of the largest bridges, which is the New River Gorge Bridge. And to stop crazy base jumpers from doing it illegally, we can give them a Bridge Day where they can legally jump off the side of the bridge onto Whitewater Rapids. And that was today. And they shut the bridge down. No traffic goes across it. There's Whitewater Rapids below it. There's on the sides, either sides of the river that goes underneath. There's train tracks and trains are going by all the time. I've been there for a couple of them. They're fun to watch because there's always at least one person in a kilt. They also do bungee jumping. There should be a lot of videos online for it, especially now that New River Gorge is a national park. So there should be a lot, but it's always very pretty because all the fall leaves start to turn. But there's enough pine trees that there's still enough green. So it's very pretty.
It's the only day that thousands of spectators can walk across the bridge and watch as serious base jumpers get their chance to fly 876 feet into the gorge below.
Yep. And the thing is, you can feel that bridge move.
Yeah, but you can.
So if you're not used to it, it's terrifying. You're just like, oh God, I'm gonna die. There's also, not on Bridge Day, but any other time, you can take tours of the understructure of the bridge because they let you walk it. Obviously with safety gear, but they let you walk it.
That's kind of cool, actually. I would be terrified.
Oh, there's the pictures. There's so many people who post pictures of that kind of stuff that it's hilarious because you just see like them cowering and like leaning on the girder. Like going, take the picture so I can stand back up and get off here.
It's funny because a lot of people they hear that the bridge is swaying and they think that that's like a danger thing, but they're designed to do that.
Well, especially a bridge this size, it has to. Otherwise, it's just going to snap like a twig.
It's important that people walk in unison in step, so that way the bridge will just work with that harmonic.
In harmony. If
everybody does
harmony.
Yeah, you have to march in formation, and everybody has to be in step. That maximizes the capacity of the bridge.
Yeah. To die.
One of these days, we should just do a segment on fictional bad advice that we could just make up, because I have a bunch of these that I've been thinking
Just
of.
make sure you have like big like flashing cards on the screen that say, do not take this advice, we are kidding or being sarcastic, do not do it.
If you listen to us and take advice from us, you just get what you deserve.
I miss the days where you could just tell a joke and not inform everyone that it's a joke.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, make Darwinism great again.
So, Serenity, let me show you. Here's a cheap thrill from California, which I know is a terrible, terrible thing. This is the Belden Power Station. It is in Northern California, and basically, to your right is the Feather River, which is a pretty decent-sized river. Now, that pipe goes up to another water source and basically takes water from a reservoir that's up high, so it's got a lot of potential energy.
Oh.
And it comes down this pipe and then comes flying out those floodgates that open up. Now, before that happens, there is a siren that goes off saying, if you're smart, get away from this. Of course, if you want to have fun, you do not get away from this. What you do,
if you're a TikToker,
you strategically place yourself not right in front of the door. That would be dumb.
Yeah.
But a ways away from the door, and then you get like on an inner tube or a raft, preferably with about 15 people in a large raft. And when that thing goes, it shoots you downstream at high velocity. It just basically injects right into the Feather River. So it's so much fun.
I take it from the way someone is speaking, someone has done this.
Oh, no, that would be unwise.
Mm-hmm. That didn't answer the question, Harry.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I would not recommend this.
No, the Minions of the Zoo definitely does not recommend that.
But if you decide to do it, you've never
Sign
heard
a
of
waiver.
us.
Yeah, sign a waiver.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought you were gonna say it was like a pumped storage system, and I would be like, I know about those.
Yeah. Well, that's not what it is.
Yeah, I know.
So I was going to tell, Skep, tell me about your day, and then I'm going to make good on a promise to you that I was going to tell you about my electrician episode.
Okay. My day was pretty boring. Had pretty good workout. Went out for about 5 miles of run walk, and accompanied by one of my mutts, and
No.
just kind of a bit of a chill day because of weird practice times that the grandkids have. We getting up at all hours of the morning to do this and that with them. But so it was kind of a sleep catch-up day, but I still woke up, had a nice workout, and got a few things done around the house. So anyway, pretty normal day. Thanks for asking.
Excellent.
How was your day, Harry? Nobody ever asked the host.
Oh, my day was fine. I mean, it was just work and getting the show ready and stuff. Nothing too eventful. But I do need to tell you this story. So a few days ago, I basically woke up and the microwave was being incredibly stupid. And this is basically what I was confronted with. That is the wrong number of volts. 34 is not the correct number.
What?
So
it seems so presumptuous to have that side that correct.
well, the wiring is correct. The voltage is just all wrong.
Yeah, that's all it is.
So this guy shows up, supposedly an expert, to deal with this situation.
Uh-oh.
And he didn't
answers
even have one of these. That's my tool. That's just a thing that I keep around in case I need to do something like this. So he shows up basically with a few screwdrivers, some wire snippers, a wire stripper, and one of those little things that says, "Is it alive or not?" So he's just going, "Yep, there's current there." And I said, "Well, that's not the point. I know there's current there, but it's not enough current." "Well, it says there's current." I'm like, "Move." So I get my tester out and I shove it back in there and go, "Look, 34 volts. That's not 120. Fix it."
Did you explain to him what electromotive force was?
I didn't go that far. But he went around and I basically showed him where all the things were. And of course I had labeled on the breaker box exactly where all the circuits went. And it's fine.
Of course you did.
So I go and I show him that all of the things are wired correctly. And he's just like poking it. He says, "Oh, well, I think it might be this one in the kitchen." I said, "The GFI?" He goes, "See." And okay, fine. So he goes and he replaces the GFI socket for no reason. It's like, I don't care. If this is what you have to do to get out of your system, fine. And that didn't fix it. I know. What a surprise. And so I said,
"What?"
Well, it's either one of two things at this point.
It's the panel of the lights, the color of the light switches.
It's either the breaker's bad, or you need to get your saw out because you're cutting holes in the wall. Those are your two options at this point. So you should probably just go test the breaker. So he was like measuring the voltage on the other side of the breaker without disconnecting it. So of course the voltage ends up being the same. And I said, "Well, why don't you disconnect those wires? Once you disconnect those wires, connect your dummy load to it, and then measure the voltage across the dummy load." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "God damn it. I'm not an electrician, but I know more about it than this guy does. Not an electrician.
That's
totally
a
not an
bit
electrician."
scary.
That's
Yeah.
when you kick him out, Harry. You go, get out of my house.
Well, no, yeah, because it sounds to me, I have a suspicion that there's a whole lot of people who are just being held up under the knowledge that nobody knows what the hell they're doing, so they can literally do anything and pretty much get away with it.
Jack, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of that.
Well, like for instance, here's a shirt that's on eBay. Why is it not showing up where I need it to show up? Oh, because I'm on the wrong screen. Technical excellence has been achieved.
So many screens.
Okay, so here is a shirt on eBay,
Okay.
right? And it says electrician hourly rate. Apparently, I owe him a bunch of money because I keep looking over his shoulder and telling him how to do his job. This is what this guy reminded me of. He reminded me of this meme.
Oh Lord.
But, no, eventually he did go and get the thing and fix it and everything was working again, but he didn't actually have the tools to remove the wires from the old breaker, so I had to loan him 2 different screwdrivers. So by the time this thing was done, I not only told him how to do his job, but I ended up having to loan him 3 tools.
Oh boy.
So
was
so
I
my
feel
Awfully
my
Christian
dad
of you.
my dad my bio dad, he's an electric engineer,
Mhm.
and he can't, and legally you can't really rewire your own home without a bunch of permits or anything. And so when something happened where he had to tear down the walls because there was a flooding, and he saw how the previous owners, basically somebody went all out and just there was live wires just taped off, connecting to nowhere. It was a mess. He knew he could have easily made everything beautiful in about a couple of days, no problem. But he
Mhm.
had to bring someone in from the people who fix everything, and he basically spent the whole time having, he gave him a day when he realized that he would have basically set the house on fire with how he was wiring everything. He basically he just told him, like, listen, I'm going to pay you, I'll even pay you an extra day, but you're going to do exactly as I tell you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. And my dad never pays extra for things. Like, it was that bad that he was
So you-
willing to just say, listen, I will pay, charge me extra hourly rate or something. We're going to
So-
do it how I want you to do it.
So here's the thing I found in my grandmother's house. Her gigolo boyfriend did this. It's like, need an extra socket. Here's your socket.
Through wall with
Wait,
holes.
wait,
Here you
what?
go.
Yes.
Oh
Wait,
my
wait,
God.
what?
What an idiot.
You want to plug
Wow.
something into this? Feel pretty confident.
Yeah. Well, and guess where he
that a
managed to
GFI?
tap into? No, he actually tapped into, basically put a splitter in and tapped into the line to the garbage disposal on the other side of the wall.
Oh my God.
Is it? And I assume that all his work was stabbed through, right? God, that's just awful.
So the electrician utilized the garbage disposal. How appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good times. But there's so much more to talk about that has nothing to do with any of this. Let me cherry pick through some of the best stuff, because with this many lively people, I don't know if we're actually going to get to everything, but you know what? That's okay. That is all right. So I assume you heard about this. OPEC Plus agrees deep oil production cuts. Biden calls it short-sighted. There are
Hey,
people
Yolanda.
speculating that that Gaff a Minute Joe may have offended the Saudis in some way during their past meeting.
Sorry.
And
no
that they
shit.
decided, well, okay, how about we just cut your stuff now instead of waiting until after the elections? I don't know if there's any truth to this.
Why is this man trying to ruin all of our lives? Just stop it. Just stop, please, God. It's not even a joke. Just Joe, just please stop messing with our freaking lives, for God's sakes.
Depending on how the midterms go, they may pull the plug on him.
The,
My
It's a
God.
metaphor
Or
season.
fit-
It's
But
I
not
liked my
Canada.
metaphor.
So
I liked my metaphor. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
if they start talking about a maid for him, then you know exactly what will happen. So
Well, no, I'm going to stop. Nope, not going to say it. I'm going to stop.
yeah, I don't need the Secret Service coming to ask me if you're okay. Well, it is a bit of a. I mean, we all know how we got in this mess.
Oh, yeah.
You don't go into office and the first thing you do is cancel a major pipeline that would
Yeah.
bring oil into this country,
Yep.
and then
draw
claim
down
that you
the
didn't do anything.
Petroleum reserve to bare bones.
Yeah, we shouldn't have the petroleum reserve at bare bones because it's a reserve of petroleum, which.
But
we
if you got to
need.
get past if you got to keep gas prices down for the midterms, you draw it out, because nothing's more important than getting your party into power. I am so pissed off about that. I can't even see straight. And this asshole Biden, he believed these corrupt assholes like Ron Klain, who told him, look, the Saudis will listen to you and they'll play ball with you because they want you to play ball with them in about a year. There's some stuff going to happen that, blah, blah, blah. Well, the Saudis just said, no, fuck you. we're going to do what we're going to do with oil production, and we think that the price is softening, and we want to firm it up now, and we really don't care about your election. And now Biden is whining publicly. It's just sickening. I cannot believe this guy is president of our country.
It is pretty startling, isn't it?
Yeah, this is just awful. The children are in charge.
It's kind of amazing. Like I used to think that pretty much most people were right about most things, and that between everyone, or they agreed on most things, and between everyone there were these little tiny differences that we all had, that ultimately that's what we would argue about. But when I see this party, every single thing they do is just 100% backwards. They do nothing right. It's incredible. I didn't even think that this sort of behavior existed. I mean, what kind of group, what kind of president takes literally everything the last president did and reverses it 100%?
Let me turn that back on you, Jack. What would motivate a president like Joe Biden and his staff? I mean, let's face it, he's not making all decisions. What would motivate him to take the steps that he's made that's resulted in the, I agree, very bad situation that we're in? What do you think is behind that motivation?
Greed, personal enrichment.
The big guy has needs.
He needs to get his 20%.
Yeah, he gets a piece of the
Or
action.
even like immortality, almost like I want to leave such a mark.
Yeah, I want to leave such a gouge. Yeah, I want to scar the
something.
United States forever. I actually think this is part of the Obama-Rama, I call it, business of damaging the United States in the interest of benefiting the world. And these people, who think the capital of the world is Brussels, Belgium, think a little bit differently than you and I. They think that the United States is way too powerful and consumes way too much resources for the number of people that they have. These guys are equity cultists. They believe that a certain amount of economic input and output should be expected from every citizen who is nothing more than an economic unit. They think of people in terms of most of them being part of the proletariat, ruled by the elite, almost like the Morlock and the Eloi. And as a result, they very cynically do things that they know will, in a gross sense, damage the United States. I believe that Barack Obama was motivated, at least in part, for some of the policy decisions that he did. He was in his mind doing for the good of the world at the expense of the United States. And I think some of the people in the Biden administration are similarly motivated. Let's throw that out there.
Yeah. Well, hold on, Jack. I want to. We're way behind schedule. I want to throw. Well, if you want to go quickly, but then I'm going to throw something to Sora.
Okay, quickly. I partially agree, although I think that it's more like the voters that have that mentality, and they abuse that mentality in order to personally enrich themselves.
The voters most people out there are so susceptible to social psychology and communication psychology. Again, Aiden Paladin, if you don't subscribe to her channel, you should.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, you just need to start listening to Aiden Paladin when you do stuff. So, I think most people are fairly easily influenced, and when the entire press is basically on board with something like this, it's very easy to drive more than a plurality of people in a particular direction. But we're going to talk about the press a little more later. In the meantime, Serenity.
Jeez.
From the art world, protesters arrested after throwing substance from soup cans at Vincent van Gogh's sunflowers.
Oh, hello, Chinese.
Yeah.
Andy
So-
Warhol meets no.
These
I had to say it.
these two young ladies
Hmm.
decided to throw a can of tomato soup at Van Gogh's sunflowers and then super glue themselves to the wall.
I'm hoping that Van Gogh's sunflower was under glass, like with the Mona Lisa.
It's under
is.
glass, I think.
Oh, thank
It is.
God.
Yeah,
Well, it's under
okay.
glass where there's glass basically above the painting, but it isn't encased in a thing, so the frame got stuff on it.
Well, I mean, the frame
It's a
is
little
easier
different.
to salvage than the actual painting, because
Yeah.
we've all seen what the art restorers sometimes do when they fuck up. So I much
No,
rather
yeah.
just
My question is,
How did they
oh, sorry.
get it in?
How'd they get the soup in? Well, I don't know. They probably just looked like they'd be annoying if you hassled them at the security checkpoint.
No,
So
I-
they just
it's-
let them in.
It is
I
in
would-
London. They don't weirdly. They sometimes at some of the art galleries, because that's the National Gallery, don't have
the
as
no-
strict.
But that's the thing. It's the National Gallery. Like they check your bags. They should be
Then
checking your
someone's-
bags, and if you have bigger bags, they ask you to put them in the lockers.
Yeah,
Well-
they
well, they
just
have
need to
bags
loan them
right
some
there.
TSA agents. It's like, you got more than 3 ounces of liquid here. Nope.
It's not like it's not, but like to me, if you see some people with big bags coming in, you should ask them, please check them, because
These
there's
guys-
tourists all the time who bring little
Yeah.
because they're leaving that afternoon, so they're doing the last ditch touristy thing, and they always have lockers for that.
Mhm.
Even if you do search them, these fanatics will bring a can of soup in their prison wallet in order
Yeah.
to just to vandalize something
Well,
like that.
it probably how they did it. They either bum
Well, here they
rushed-
are. Nobody's stopping them. Look, they just
Well,
walked
yeah.
across the thing, and it's like,
Oh, fuck you! Oh, god damn, that pisses
Yeah.
me off.
there's no way in hell I would have stopped them. And then they'd say, well, you can't touch these young ladies. Well, just did.
Well,
Well,
it's
I
also
mean-
I can guarantee you that it was probably one of their
I could have got a headshot.
pathetic piece of like either someone's mommy or daddy is on the board, so they had the
Mhm.
ability to walk around it because that's usually how you get around it. Or
Mhm.
B, one of their friends is probably a janitor and let them in the back door.
Well, let's listen to their stupid statement. I think I can
I'm
get
sure
the
it's,
audio
it's
working.
lovely.
Let's
sure it's
turn the
lovely.
audio on.
It's always
Let's try
pink
this.
hair.
We have to demonstrate how amazing we are.
What is worth more, art or life?
Art,
Art.
Worth more than food? Worth more than justice?
art.
Are you more concerned about the protection of a painting?
Yes.
Oh,
Protection of our planet?
she's
Yes.
poshy.
People?
Yeah, so when we send
False
space probes
dichotomy.
out into space with big golden records with things about Earth, you know what? It's not on that? A sample of her DNA. What's not on that is a picture of her or recording of her voice. You know what is on there? Van Gogh, Da Vinci. That's
right.
the stuff that we tell the aliens, come here, we're kind of cool, just come pillage us because we're not very smart.
Yeah.
But we send that stuff out into space because when we want to say this is what Earth is about and this is what humanity's about, you're not it, sweetie.
Yeah.
You're just not. But you're right. She does sound a little posh, doesn't she?
Oh, she's
But it's-
absolutely posh.
But it's the type of posh that she's obviously new money.
Well, she's new money, but she probably comes. She's probably like Southern England, like Kent or something like that, where all the new
Mhm.
money comes from.
You're my
That's
hero,
where they all go
Sora.
because they don't want to live in London because London's dirty. So they
I'm-
all go out to Kent.
She's a
I'm-
nouveau.
I'm
New
sure
money
that-
always cries.
I'm sure that her family owns a lovely chain of bougie, shitty restaurants.
I'm sure her parents probably have a
They
franchise.
have
in
12.
Little's
They
or
have
something
12
like that.
Greg's franchises.
Yeah, but they have Tesco.
Listen,
They have Tesco.
Greg's sausage roll is not bad, okay?
I thought that's what you got in the north.
Yeah, but
Greg's
yeah, no,
sausage-
she's very blatantly privileged because it's like, so you're saying that, sweetheart, but I see someone has their nails done.
Mhm.
Is getting your nails done more important than the environment?
Her hair is
love that.
pink. Stop
Yeah.
co-opting pretty pink hair. I had pink hair for so long, and now I can't even dye it anything beyond blonde, or else I'm signaling the wrong thing to people.
This girl has no idea just how many of the things she uses every single day involve petroleum products.
Mhm.
So
She is
Skep,
not smart enough to know.
So Skep, you know the hair dye that she's got there. That's that's just made out of like wishes and
Yeah.
unicorns, right? It's not definitely not made from petrochemicals.
No,
It's not like an
no,
aniline dye or anything.
No.
How much you want to bet those T-shirts were made in China?
No alkene bases.
And then shipped across the ocean in a coal burning.
You
Yeah.
know, the saddest part of all of this is that even if she did know, she wouldn't care. She would not change her behavior at all. She would give some sort of bullshit socialist statement like, we just do these things because we need to survive. We're concerned with survival. That's why we use these things.
Well, it's the meme where it's the surf worker like saying something, and then the person pops out of the well and is like, "But you take part in that society," and it's like, "No, you do it." And then the new meme where it is the surf worker then responds with, "Well, I have no choice." It's like, no, but you can mitigate some stuff. Like, I personally don't like a certain country that's very red in a way that's not conservative, so I try to avoid as much as possible buying products that are made there.
Like
Doesn't
you're
work
talking
out
about
perfectly.
California, right?
Oh
No.
yeah, starts with a C, ends with an A. Exactly.
Glorious People's
California doesn't
Republic of
make anything,
Kazakhstan.
Harry.
Yeah, like I try to avoid it, but I can't avoid everything because it's just not plausible, and I don't
Yeah.
wring my own neck for it because there's no point. Like, I do what I can when I can. I recycle. Like, that's the stuff that needs to be done. It's like, go after China. I dare you.
See,
Go
but
to
see,
China.
that's the people don't. That's the thing. People don't talk about people who are trying to be moderate.
Yeah,
That's the
they
thing,
don't want
because if
to.
you talk about that, that makes too much sense. That is
Yeah.
too logical. Like, for example, just to show you how stupid, because here you think, oh, everyone recycles here, it's a big mandate. I had a recycling depot not that far away from us. Anyone could go in. They recycled everything. You could bring scrap metal. You could take old. They disposed and recycled properly of old appliances, everything. And they decided, oh, you know what would be better for us to pay money, taxpayer money, to have someone pick up your recycling instead. So they closed it down completely. So up to this point, this was individual people coming. You had to go through one car at a time. You drop your stuff off, very
Mhm.
orderly. It was always kept clean. And guess what? Now you can't recycle your appliances. You can't recycle scrap metal. You can't do anything. You have to hire a company to pick those up. And then you can only recycle tiny little boxes of plastic and paper.
Mhm. You guys do
Recycling
have
is
country
bullshit
roads,
anyway.
right, Sora?
Well, I probably if you want to drive out, I'm too in the city to do that. But
Well,
I mean,
you
like,
know
there's
what I
other
mean.
recycled. Yeah, I know. There's other recycled depots, but to get to those, you really have to go far out, and people are gonna not. Nobody in this area is gonna do that,
Sorry,
right?
Jack,
And
what
then
were you saying?
I was saying recycling's bullshit anyways. It's not it doesn't work.
Thanks, Jack. Well, okay, so in trying to get back to Jack, I just cut off Sora. What were you saying, Sora?
I'm just saying how stupid it is that, like, all this recycling crap, right? Like, everyone is trying to do their best, and they're actively stopping you from trying to do all of that by saying the way that the new implementation is better. It's very frustrating.
But we are going to run out of crude oil in about 2070.
In about when?
2070.
2027.
2070.
2070.
Oh, 2070.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said 27. I was like, holy
it's a
crap.
date. It's
Okay.
like counting the number of
I
years.
was going to say, what, Greta? We've got like 45 years worth of oil left. What are you talking about?
No,
Well,
that's
if I
that's
make it
actually
to
what
my
you find.
80s, I'll make sure I peace out before that happens.
Well, I do think
Yeah,
recycling plastic
British-
does make sense.
British
And glass.
Petroleum's report, seriously, in 2018 says they believe we have around 50 years left at current consumption and production levels. And so without a serious increase in production, we've got about 50 years of 50 years where we can support the current consumption rate. We will have to increase production levels and make them more efficient at that point.
I'm going to get one of those cars like they had in the Flintstones where you just have your feet down
That's
there.
what I use now.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I want ribs.
Oh, yeah.
Dino ribs.
Well, before
Hell yeah.
we plunge into what is an apocalyptic dystopia with no energy, this is a thing that happened. So Elon Musk essentially suggested that most of you have probably heard about this.
Yeah.
Ukraine-Russia peace. Redo elections of annexed regions under UN supervision. Russia leaves if the will of the people. Crimea formerly part of Russia as it has been since 1783.
Which it hasn't.
Water supply to Crimea assured. Ukraine remains neutral. People had their comments, and so this ambassador from there said, "Fuck off" is my very diplomatic reply to you, Elon Musk.
Yeah, as it should have been.
So this went well, because it turns out Elon and Skylink has basically been giving for free internet access to Ukraine for a while.
He shut it
And
off.
it's costing them a non-trivial amount of money. So Elon just said, "Look, we understand you need this, but I don't really feel like paying for this myself now because it's costing us around $10 million a month. So the Pentagon should pick this up because I don't want to pay for it anymore."
No, fuck off.
What? Well, why should he pay for it? Why should he
Because
give
he
them
put
free
it
internet?
there. Don't put it there if you're not going to let him use it. If you're not,
Wait.
then have the balls to take it out.
So if you send somebody like a cable
what?
box, they get to use
What?
it forever for free?
No, I said if he doesn't want to pay for it, he needs to remove it.
No, they're Skylink terminals.
I know, remove them if he doesn't want to pay for it anymore. America's paid for enough. I'm done. I get tired of this
He
shit.
can just turn the spigot off. He doesn't have to give them service forever if they don't want to pay the bill.
Yeah,
Why should they be on the hook for internet forever for free for the Ukrainians? I mean, all these other companies are getting paid.
Oh no,
For
no,
drones
I,
and all this other
I
stuff.
understand.
With that.
I understand what Serenity's saying. It's basically
Yeah.
she's like,
I-
screw you, Elon Musk. The U.S. should not be picking up the bill. Don't
Yeah.
Don't suddenly throw the guilt onto the U.S. to say that, hey, I'm going to shut this. I'm threatening to shut this off because I'm having a temper tantrum, and it's fine. He doesn't have to. He provided
Yeah.
it as an emergency service. He doesn't have to continue to doing so, but that doesn't mean that suggesting that the U.S. should pick up the bill.
Yeah, no
I
one should pay
understand.
for it. It should go away.
Well, the U.S.
That's-
is picking up the bill for all sorts of stuff.
I don't agree with that
little
either.
little missiles. Well, I mean, we're sending them billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of aid to basically.
I'm sure most of that's not actually going to them. It's going to other people's pockets. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. In order to do this, like the little switchblade, little drone things and all this other nonsense that we're sending them. So he's just like, I've just been being a mensch here and just giving these guys free internet. Now,
Yeah.
when they rolled this out, the government did buy like 1,500 terminals, and then Musk supplied another 2,500 of them just gratis, and has been covering the cost of this service. Now, to do Skylink, is it Skylink? Why am I getting? I keep trying not to turn it in Starlink. I don't want to.
Is what you're
It's
So
not
what was the-
Skynet, Harry. It's
Yeah,
not
I'm
Skylink was the
trying
movie.
not to say Skynet. Okay, so in order to do this, they have all these low Earth orbit satellites, right? So with this many new terminals in one place while they're building out the network, that means he has to retarget satellites over that area. Plus, he's been dealing with the hassle of the Russians constantly trying to jam it.
Mhm.
So it's a non-trivial pain in the ass for him to,
I'm sure.
to have to deal with this stuff. So eventually, he finally just decided, the hell with it. Elon Musk tweets, SpaceX will keep funding Ukraine government for free, because he was just tired of having the stupid conversation. But I kind of feel like he made his point.
Well,
It's like, don't tell me to fuck off when I'm giving you tons of free stuff for your country. Is
Well, I
sort
mean-
of what he was saying.
which I get, but at the same time, he provided it. He made the choice to provide it. He has the right to take that choice back if he no
Yeah.
longer wants to pay for it.
Yeah.
Do not throw a bitch fit when someone goes, "No, we're not going to do what you want us to do." And then go, "Oh, well," and then like not threaten, because I don't think he actually threatened to turn it off. But it's like
No.
make that it's like, my thing is like, if you're providing something and you don't want to provide it anymore, you have the right to not provide it anymore. But don't sit there and act like you're a diplomat. I do not want Elon Musk being a diplomat. I don't want a lot of diplomats being diplomats. I don't but I'm like, it was just it doesn't sit right with me, because that seems way too controlling. Like, it's just like, you're not a diplomat, sweetheart. Don't try to get in the middle of this. This is going back a long fucking time, and hell, you didn't even get the Crimea date right. Like,
Well,
don't.
being the richest guy in the world, you're going to be involved in politics regardless. Every time this guy basically wakes up and picks a beverage, and it ends up being on TV. You know, people see what choices he makes. He affects the world.
Which I understand, but there's a difference between unwilling involvement and willing involvement. He willingly put himself into this. And then he's going to, and he can willingly take himself out of it. But don't sit there and try to dictate to other people how to do things.
So he'd be more in the right with you if he had just turned it off.
If he really feels that way and they don't want to listen to him, he has the right to turn his services off. Since he's providing them for free and taking the cost. If someone else was paying for it, then
I don't
yeah,
think it's about listening to him. I think it's about the attitude of simply saying "fuck off" after he's done so much for their country. I think that's where the contention is, and I think that the comment about, you know, if the American government wants to pick up the tab or whatever is kind of like, you know, I'm done, but you know, if America wants to keep and exposing and drawing attention to the fact that you've sent tens of billions worth of shit already, I don't think it's as he's pretty tuned into what's going on most of the time, so I don't think he's saying, oh well, now you guys have to pay for it. I think he's saying, well, you know, if you want a benefactor, look, go back to your mama's teat over here, Big Daddy Biden.
Assassin says similarly, agrees, I think, in the chat there.
Yeah, exactly. If he said no thank you, I don't think he would have said anything. He would have been okay.
I think it's even more than that. I think that what's evident, if someone says fuck you, that's one thing, but this guy said fuck you on Twitter in front, and this was basically just like a show of it wasn't just saying fuck you, it was saying I'm taking on the man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, well, there is a bunch of there is some background
shitting on
here.
Elon Musk. Look at me.
Yeah, I know. He poked the eye of the richest guy in the world. So there is some history here that goes back quite a long way. Let's just say that the Ukrainians and the Russians are not exactly buddies.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of bad historical things that have happened.
What? No.
So the idea, so I think it was Sebastian Gorka, I forget who he was talking to. He was making the point that there isn't a snowball's chance in hell that the Ukrainians are going to agree to any kind of compromise with the Russians.
They're not.
So what does that mean for us, you know, sitting here being their benefactor? Are we just going to pay for some protracted war forever and risk
it's not the first time.
Use of nuclear weapons? Well, this is the first time we've been in a proxy war where nukes might come into play. I don't think it's extremely likely, but
Cuban Missile
it's
Crisis?
still, I mean, this is not a great situation to be in.
No, I agree. I don't think we should be involved in it at all. Period.
Nukes will never come into play here because, as crazy or as angry as Putin can get, as desperate as he can get, he games the stuff out too, and in every single game scenario, he loses.
Everybody dies.
And you don't lose small.
Yeah, you don't lose.
Do not lose small in that. You not only lose your country, you kill millions of people, and you go down in history not as, you know, Peter the Great, which is basically what's motivating Putin, in my opinion, but you go down as Pol Pot.
Well, and my mom made a joke.
If there is a history.
She made a joke. She's like, and plus, let's face facts, considering how dirty all of his generals are, who's saying he even has nukes left? She's like, he's going to walk. I know, but the joke is he's going to walk in and they're going to be up on blocks. Like, cars are in bad parts of the world. There's going to be nothing there.
That would be if it was like Juarez.
Hang a pine tree air freshener on it. Yeah, that keeps them
and a note that fresh. A note says IOU.
Well, it is actually very expensive and technically difficult to maintain an arsenal of nuclear weapons. It's not like you just make them and then I've got this in my back pocket, just put it in my bag of holding, it's going to be fine. Nothing ever changes inside the bag of holding. No, these things actually do expire because there's a lot of radiation in that area. There's a lot of sensitive electronics that's being subjected to this radiation. So you got to maintain that and swap that out occasionally. There's all sorts of stuff that it's a harsh environment being next to that much plutonium.
Well, the thing about it is that the warheads are usually kept shielded away from kept away from the motor part, so to speak, without giving away any secrets.
We have to reload the tritium too. The tritium decays
very
pretty rapidly.
Pretty rapidly, right? Quite right.
It actually is not something that lasts for a very long time. So if you go back and watch, what was that thing? Battlefield Earth, the movie.
Oh God!
Oh my God, that movie is terrible.
Oh, it's so bad.
I hate it when I'm drinking tritium water and the neutrons fizz out and it's flat. I hate that.
Yeah.
It's not even good. It's not even bad good. It's just bad.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flux. Okay, so we have a break. We have a break because it is time for a break. Let's take a look. I want to introduce you to another cringy old toy commercials. This is Milky, the Marvelous Milking Cow.
Yeah.
Here's Milky, the marvelous milking cow. It's fun to milk her, gonna do it right now. She drinks the water when we pump her tail. She's ready.
That's how you milk a cow, right?
It's
You just
milking
pump its
time
tail.
now.
Oh yeah, the human lips on the front of the cow. Yeah.
I recommend it.
I guess pretend milk.
Milky, the marvelous.
Look at them
Nice.
lips. Look at them
Why
lips.
is the water
Milky, the
turned
marvelous
white?
milking cow with
Those poor
pretend
children
milk.
thought that was fun.
But
Those
But where-
deprived
why-
urchins thought
Flappy
that was
Bird is fun
great.
compared to this.
You know,
This is capsule that you have that the parents have to put into like the udder. That they're burned.
I'm not gonna lie, I would have liked this as a kid.
I had the baby doll that wet itself, so yes, I would have liked this as a kid.
Do you
Yeah.
know those baby bottles like with the orange juice
Yeah.
and the milk that you turn over and the baby just like the magic
Yep.
bottles? I
Oh, yeah.
love those things. Those were my favorite toys when I was little.
You guys
I
make
just don't
me
like the
sad.
human lips on the cow. That's what bothers me is the human lips. Those are weird.
Let's see.
Right there.
These?
Yeah.
that's really that really is disturbing. It's really
Yeah.
absolutely
She
right.
has some bee-kissed lips there, doesn't she?
Oh my God, those are
She's
like
a Hollywood
blowjob-
cow.
like blowjob.
Yeah, literally. We know how
Yeah.
she got where she
Oh
was.
my
And next
God.
season, cowpox. Okay,
She
I
must
know
be
we've
made
already
of
had those.
silicone.
Cow STDs.
Yeah,
Oh.
good times. Okay,
Oh.
do
Give
we
us the
want to
cows.
talk about the next?
That cow has had work done.
That cow is
Milky
work.
the cow. Oh God, do we even want to talk about this? Well, I don't know. Well, basically, it's the January 6th thing. They're talking about
Ugh.
subpoenaing Trump.
Oh yeah.
Dumbasses.
I thought it,
This was their last meeting, so they said, really, we should just subpoena Donald Trump so he can come and explain himself to the committee.
You haven't even given him a chance to have his own defense there. Why would he show up?
The
He might
walls
do a
are.
control.
I think you're missing the broader point. The walls are closing in.
Oh yeah, the walls.
all 8 of them.
Giggity.
Okay, well, Trump and walls, he has a weird love-hate relationship with them. When they're closing in, not so much.
Well, I mean, the entire thing they had the other day, it wasn't even on CNN. I don't think it was on C-SPAN. That tells you how little people.
That gives you an idea of
it.
just how much anybody cares about your hearings.
Because my mother was watching it, and I'm like, Mom.
Not even C-SPAN after dark.
I know.
It's just regular C-SPAN.
And then they did that at the end, and I was just like, "Are you serious?" They at least had enough sense to not have Cheney say it. They had I can't remember his last name. He's the token minority in the group. But he was saying it, and I'm sitting there going, "Are you what? Are you a certain kind of stupid, or are you an all kind of stupid?" It was just this entire thing's been a clusterfuck, and you don't have a job anymore, bitch. Sorry, I'm so happy she doesn't have a job anymore. Liz Cheney, I'm just glad she's gone.
Well, I'm sure she'll find a good job on CNN Plus or MSNBC or something.
Nah, she'll
will
just go be a
she's-
war hawk.
No, she will go be the House conservative on MSNBC. You watch and see.
Oh
She'll
She'll
yeah.
be the
You.
Juan Williams of MSNBC.
Yeah. Yep. Very much so.
Well, I was sort of curious about the legal framework of this, and we don't have our resident legal expert, Prospero, here, so I did a little bit of research and found this from Jonathan Fuentes.
Well,
And-
I think Prospero said that they technically can't. I think.
From what I was able to find, and this doesn't necessarily mean anything, there's no solid textual foundation for subpoenas or enforcement of subpoenas in the Constitution. The way it's sort of evolved, it looks like, broadly speaking, the House and the Senate both have the ability to have committees subpoena people and information. So you would say, we need this such and such information about, natural gas production, whatever, right? So we can do our legislative thing.
Bullshit.
So they've expanded it over the years so that committees can actually not just say, we need this data, we need you to come and tell us about this thing. There was a quote here from John Roberts. He said, undoubtedly one would naturally recoil at the thought of a legislative officer imprisoning someone through congressional fiat and subject to a jury of elected officials without involvement from the executive, because it's not their job to lock people up, basically. Despite a history dating back to the founding and even before the British Parliament and American colonial assemblies, Congress's authority to physically imprison someone arguably erodes the otherwise reserved powers of the executive to prosecute violations of law. Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the majority in Marzars, notes that the subpoena must serve a valid legislative purpose and not be used in a criminal probe. Yeah. So the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court has basically said this. I think they're on pretty shaky ground if this is even remotely correct. Just my uninformed opinion.
They're on shaky ground doing what?
Subpoenaing him for this purpose.
Oh yeah, absolutely, utterly. Just the small bit of subpoena power that is, that is obviously appropriate for any legislative branch body is going to have a direct relationship to what their primary function is, which is to consider and pass legislation. That's what that part of the government does. Exactly as you said. This is an executive function. Subpoenaing, law enforcement and that sort of thing clearly is under the executive, clearly is not in the legislative. And, I would agree with you completely.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm going to make up a little bit of time. Does anybody want to comment on how awesome or stupid they think this is before we move on? Going once, going twice. Next story. NBC reporter who commented on Fetterman's health causes panic among objective journalists. Now, this is the Fox News take on it. It's obviously different in other places. So there was a journalist who met with Fetterman who's running for Senate in Pennsylvania against Mehmet Oz, TV doctor and shiller of all kinds of snake oil.
Bullshit.
Yeah. So so Fetterman is like a trust fund baby who became mayor of a city, practically destroyed it, and now wants to destroy the rest of the country by being in the Senate. He had a stroke and has had great difficulty communicating. So in order to do this interview, they had to basically have the questions written out so that he could read them because he's having trouble with his auditory processing. Not a thing that would be an issue for a sitting U.S. senator, of course. I'm sure they'd be happy to print everything out for him for as long as he needs them to do that.
Like they do with that nice Mrs. Pelosi.
So the reporter from NBC simply commented on the fact that his disability was real and apparent. But since that's not part of what the press is supposed to be doing, which is support Blue no matter who, a bunch of people started saying, you're not supposed to talk about that part out loud. It's pretty shameful. I mean, the press is really just all in. I get the impression that most of them are also trust fund babies like Fetterman. They're rich people or from rich families, so they don't really need to. It's more of a hobby for them, something that gets them tweets and likes, and they get to be a blue check mark, and then they can hang out with all their blue check mark friends and spend their holidays at their parents' vacation home. I don't see how a lot of these people in the press can manage to stay in business. I mean, they're all sort of like Frosk from G4, but just maybe not quite that bad. I just am developing a really low opinion of the press.
Well, first of all, I agree totally. I haven't had a good opinion of the press for a long time, but the one thing that I suspect that a lot of these press companies are just getting subsidized. They are not holding their own weight financially. I don't see how it can happen, considering how it's always talked about how these places get very, very low views. I mean, like the Washington Post, for example, how can that not be subsidized by Amazon at this point? It wouldn't make sense to me unless somebody else was just giving them the money.
Well, traditional media in general is really getting squeezed. I know that in terms of radio, there's been a lot of consolidation. And there's a lot of consolidation in the news, too. There just really aren't that many independent journalists who go out and actually look into problems. I mean, I know that in LA, there's a few places that do it. And there are still some real journalists going out and breaking stories of corruption and, real issues. There are a few of them. But it seems like most of these people just read Twitter and then write up their stories based on whatever the talking points they're getting are from Obama's secret newsletter. It's nuts. I'm talking too much. Somebody else talk who isn't me or Jack.
The Washington Post is actually on track to lose money this year. I just checked. And for the first time, I guess in a long time, they had been profitable up to this year. Just point that out.
Well, this is annoying. Let's talk about this. I asked in a previous episode, is it possible for Alex Jones to get a fair trial in the current climate in the United States? I think the answer to that, I think we were vindicated when we all said no.
A billion reasons why.
Alex Jones must pay Sandy Hook families nearly $1 billion for hoax claims. Let's go to somebody who hasn't talked recently. How about you, Functional? You okay?
I'm fine.
What do you think of it? Does $1 billion seem fair to you because Alex Jones is kind of an idiot and says dumb things sometimes? Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, gloss over the free speech implications. I'm pretty much almost an absolutist on that front. But like, if CNN can lie outright about something like the Iraq War and not pay a dime, or there's just so many examples to pour through of just this is so unheard of, so unprecedented. And you know what? They're not going to see a cent of it. It's okay.
If it was a private school and Alex Jones owned the school, and because he basically had the same electrician I had, the school caught fire and burned down, and all those kids died. The ones that died in the shooting died in the fire. His payout would be way less than the $1 billion that they're asking for right now.
Oh, if he directly pulled the trigger and killed all the kids,
I'm looking at a list of firefighters who have died in the line of duty the last 5 or 6 years. This is about 2016. I'm looking through here, and I wonder how much any of these families got paid. Probably nominal, some sort of insurance settlement. They do set that type of thing up. That award against Jones is absolutely obscene, and it is so many things that are wrong with the way that we adjudicate tort law and set penalties. It's completely emotionally flamed by the popular media and the popular press into something that is clearly excessive. Obviously, I was speechless when I saw it. I thought, well, we might finally get tort reform now, because when people see that juries can command this kind of money, can redirect this kind of assets, somebody's got to step up and say the adults need to take charge, and we've got to reform the system.
Yeah,
We've
it
got
just
to add
happens
more
to be
reform.
all the money he has plus a little.
Yeah,
And it's like, how much money have you got?
it's
Okay,
so
we'll take
obvious
all of
what's
it.
going on. Yeah,
It's that's how we got to $1 billion. They said, "Oh, you're worth $940 something million dollars." That sounds good. How about that plus enough that you'll never make up the difference? That's how much we want.
Right. It's just all that is to persecute him. That's all that is.
Yeah. I've even spoken to people who are in favor of the decision and whatever, you know, yay, team sports. And I straight up asked them, well, what exactly did he say that you think is deserving of this treatment and this? Oh, well, he said this. Well, no, direct quote me, because, you know. And sometimes I would get a quote and be like, well, or a supposed quote that they heard on, you know, MSNBC or the Young Turks or something. We're like, well, no, but what he did say was blah. Oh, well, that doesn't matter. What do you mean it doesn't matter? That's what he actually said. Oh, but it was his intent. No, his intent doesn't fucking matter. What did he say? Not that his intent doesn't matter, but I mean, in this specific instance, what exactly did he say? And that's what he said. So yes, it does matter, and you're entirely 120% wrong on this. As is the case. I mean, just watching some of the snippets from various sources, like the judge is just real piece of work. It's one vindictive bitch.
This is going to be great for Ricetta and Rumble when the appeal comes through, because this should get into some serious views.
Let me tell you also about this. This award is going to get knocked down.
Oh yeah,
it's going to get way knocked down. Like 90% of it, 99% of it is gonna vanish at the first level of appeal.
I think
clearly
probably
an excessive
90.
award.
Yeah, so
It's
yeah,
hard to
he
say.
is a rich guy, and they're going to claim that he basically profited off of the misinformation that he spread. Again, misinformation is still speech. I get that.
Unjust.
It's certainly unjust, and so there's a few people that can say, yeah, a mob showed up at my door, people gave me a hard time, I received threats because of this thing that you said. Okay, I'm not saying they're right, I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm just saying $1 billion is just on the face of it ridiculous. When you look at what other people get for much worse things that have happened to them, and I'm not saying that didn't suck for those people, I would think they would have been so gripped by grief that Alex Jones's comments for the most part really wouldn't be the main thing on top of their brain. It'd be sort of like, I really feel terrible because my kids died. Oh, and by the way, there's this asshole over there saying stupid things. We'll get to him later. This feels a lot like an after-the-fact grift.
They never paid any attention to the asshole.
No, you're not. I mean, if you lost a kid and some idiot's making comments on the radio, it doesn't even float to the top of your attention for a while.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. This is me trying to understand human motivation. Okay. But to me, it just seems wrong on the face of it. Let's see. You still okay, Jack, or did you fall asleep on us?
Oh no, I'm fine.
Did you want a piece of this?
No.
Okay. Hey, can't say I didn't offer. All right. So, we talked about this last week. This gentleman has Down syndrome and has been working at a Wendy's for 22 years. And he's just a couple years away from retirement when somebody, the manager, essentially fired him because he wasn't able to do the same level of work as the non-Down syndrome people, which anybody who's listened to the show knows my general opinion is that you don't kick people who are completely blameless like this. This wasn't because he made bad life choices. It's just bad luck of the draw. It's nobody's fault, but we can be patient and kind to, let this person do the best they can to try to matter, right? To do something important, to help people. That's dignity. Yeah. That's much more important than money. Dignity is much more important.
Yeah.
And so it kind of sickened me, the fact that they did this person. But there's some extra detail in the CNN thing. So first of all, instead of going back to work for these people, he's just going to retire a couple years early. So the town decided they would throw him a big retirement party, which I think is actually pretty decent.
That's nice.
Okay. But what's interesting in here, and what surprised me completely, was the manager. According to Turner, the manager claimed she didn't have proof of termination. It was sent to corporate. Turner said, that's the sister, asked the manager to have corporate fax the termination papers to the restaurant. The manager said she would do so, and that would have turned Turner back, according to Turner. Now, in my mind, when I was imagining who it was who was doing this dickish thing, it never occurred to me that it would be a woman. And maybe that just shows my own prejudice. I mean, did you all have a picture of what this new manager was like? Because I had like some guy who was fresh out of school, who had his MBA and figured, if you can manage a McDonald's, you can manage a Fortune 500 company. I had an image in my mind, and it was not she.
Yeah.
What is her background? What do we know about her?
Well, she went to lack of empathy U, because everything that people talk about, say, on balance, women have more empathy, more this, more that. This really kind of surprised me, because I was expecting it to be some male sociopath with no clue. I didn't think it would be, more caring sex.
Me too. No, that surprised me also. But karma does not discriminate.
No.
Karma saw her. It was noted. It was recorded.
Yeah. Yeah, they did offer to rehire this person, but they didn't say anything about moving, hiring him at a different location or moving her to a different restaurant or anything else. I can't see this guy working for her.
No.
So him just retiring early seems like the best thing, but...
absolutely right.
So according to this article, so they say, what's next for Dennis? That's the gentleman's name. Peak is in a program with a life coach assisting him with his career if he chooses to continue working. In the meantime, he spends his days writing in his journal and kindly asks to be left alone while he's doing his homework. Next weekend, he will be heading to make apple butter up in the mountains of North Carolina.
That's nice.
There you go. It is nice. So I'm glad that considering what a shitty situation this was, that it turned out as well as it did.
Don't target these people. Like, this is such a disgusting move. It really is.
Yeah.
It's like, why? What was the point? It's just, well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there are people who say, that it's somehow bigoted to acknowledge that there are people that are differently abled, right? It's like, he got a bum deal. He was born with extra chromosomes. That sucks. I think pretending that that's not the case. I think that pretending that that's not the case doesn't do anybody a service, because how can you help somebody if you're not honest about what the situation is?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Differently abled just kind of goes off. Differently abled is the reason I'm not a left-handed reliever for the Texas Rangers. I am differently abled than the people who can throw a 95 mile an hour slider. All right. Mm-hmm. I'm not, that's a different inability, a difference in, a physical, we're not even allowed to say defect, but that's what it is. It is a physical defect with respect to the norm. Someone with Down syndrome has essentially been let down by their physicality, and they don't do the things that we associate in with normal life as well or as easily as other people do. It's not a bad thing. It's just who they are, but they have less capability. And I think that part of our problem as a society is that we are shying away from difficult truths. And one thing I've noticed about societies that shun difficult truths, and I noticed this in Rome when I watched Rome fall, was that if you shun difficult truths, you tend to have to face more and more difficult truths. That's basically what happened with Rome and Carthage before. That they simply denied reality, kept denying reality, and reality comes faster and furiouser for it. And I think to be dishonest with ourselves in the terminology that we use for people is wrong, and I think it damages us as a society. I really do.
Yeah, if I was speaking to him directly, I would speak differently than I would be speaking if I'm talking to my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, I mean,
Right.
I certainly don't mean to offer offense to somebody, but I'm also not going to couch things in polite language. I'm going to be very blunt for the sake of moving the conversation along. So when I make comments about somebody who has a clear disability, and then I express empathy, saying that I think that, you know, we're a big enough, rich enough society that we can take care of the deserving poor and the deserving handicapped, not the people who work the system and milk it, but just through private charity, we're big enough and rich enough we can take care of people who genuinely could use help. Because I think human dignity is important. So the idea of him getting a big cash award and then going and just spending all his money on loot boxes or whatever, that's just dumb. He was working there not because he needed to, but because it was important for him, you know, to try to contribute. At least I imagine that's what it was. I don't think somebody works at Wendy's for 22 years by accident. It's not an accidental sort of thing. Any comments before we move on?
Oh, I'm glad that he gets a bit of a happy ending.
Yeah.
In terms of support from people.
Absolutely. And
what I'm sorry is that usually, you know, what gets them through the day, it's a routine, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of them. And something like this, when it's very possible his family was telling him, oh, 2 more years, and then, you know, you're working. I'm only assuming, obviously, you're working towards a change of routine, and then suddenly it abruptly cuts like this.
Right. He's got people supporting him, and he's got people helping him. There are a lot of people in his situation that aren't nearly as lucky as this guy is.
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, Eric.
Let's just leave that on a happy note. So speaking of happy, I stumbled across a thing. Now, this is going to be one of those things where I'm running about a, 50-50 chance that I'm the only one that finds this interesting. But we're going to go for it anyway, because what the hell? We're all volunteers. Bjork is a magical creature. And this is Bjork from the 1990s talking about her TV. And I found this to be really charming and kind of interesting. So if you'll bear with me for about a minute, I'm going to play this little clip of Bjork, and then you can tell me if you see why I found it as interesting as I did.
And this beautiful television has put me, like I said before, in all sorts of situations. I remember being very scared to it because an Icelandic poet told me that not like in cinemas where the thing that throws the picture from it just sends lights on the screen. But this is different. This is millions and millions of little screens who send a light on you, some sort of electric light, I'm not really sure, but because there's so many of them, and in fact you're watching very, very many frames when you're watching TV, your head is very busy all the time to calculate and put it all together into one picture, and then because you're so busy doing that, you don't watch very carefully what the program that you're watching is really about. So you become hypnotized. So all that's on TV, it just goes directly into your brain. And you stop judging if it's right or not. So you just swallow and swallow. This is what an Icelandic poet told me once. And I became so scared to television that I always got headaches when I watched it. But then later on, when I got my Danish book on television, I stopped being afraid because I read the truth. And that's the scientific truth, which is much better. You shouldn't let poets lie to you.
Wait, what?
I love it.
Damn. Damn, that accelerated at the end.
She is a magical creature.
I haven't heard of Bjork in ages, man.
I like
What the
her.
hell is
That's-
Bjork doing these days?
Music.
Yeah.
Hopefully living her best life, not listening to poets.
Making apple
Yeah.
butter. Yeah, not listening. Don't let poets lie to you.
I didn't know they had.
Love it.
What did they have to write poems about in Iceland? There's no poetry in Iceland.
Just snow and death.
Snow.
Yeah.
How many poems have been written about death? Let's think about this.
Countless. Yeah, no.
All the poems.
Iceland poetry. Everything sucks. The end.
You know what I like about this the most is it's such dad advice. You know, isn't that something like your dad would tell you? Don't listen to that poet. Read a book. I don't know. For me, it seems like something my dad. That's exactly like something my dad would say.
Don't listen to the crazy person on the TikTok.
Skaldic poetry. I was trying to remember that word. The skalds. Those were the Icelandic poets.
Mm-hmm.
Skaldic poetry was sung to honor nobles and kings and to recall historic events or battles. Many are satirical and witty, using and employing quirky language and humor. And they are also known for their complexity. So there is evidently poetry in Iceland. I couldn't remember the name Skaldic. I knew what I was thinking of.
Well, the Skaldic stuff is also a little bit like it and Viking heritage share a lot in common, and that is what Tolkien based his format on.
Very much so.
So it's one of those. It's like if you've read Tolkien, you know very much what Skaldic proportioning when it's translated to English sounds like, so you know how difficult it can be. So just take that into consideration, everybody. So when you start thinking about this shit, it's like, let's get pedantic, shall we? Let's talk about the shade of green on the curtain, but not tell you how the elf looks, because God forbid we describe how Legolas looks. Can't do that. I'm sorry.
I'm looking through the chat, and some of my more subversive comments didn't go on deaf ears. Good. I'm glad everybody's paying attention. I'm glad everybody enjoyed that as much as I did. Don't let poets lie to you.
I like
no,
it.
I've had the pleasure of knowing a few really gifted creative types in my life. And when you run into the ones that are really, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily like geniuses in every possible way. They're very narrowly brilliant, right? You know, there's like a thing that they really excel at, some little niche that they can work in. And people like that are weird to be around, but I really enjoy being around people like that. Somebody who's really good at a certain thing. And I from this thing with Bjork, you can see that she's weird and she's kind of out there, but she's definitely thinking about things. She's giving a lot of thought to stuff, which as an artist like her is actually really important.
Yeah.
You know, I have a much better, a much more favorable view of her after seeing this than I did before, where I had really none. Other than she's that weird chick from Iceland who makes that weird music.
Wow, judgmental much, Harry?
I'm just going with the information that I had. But, I mean, there's a lot of really eccentric creative types. You know, your Laurie Andersons, your Tori Amoses. There's more than a few.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But nothing wrong with it.
Nothing
the
wrong
world
with
the world would be a really bad place if everybody was like Bjork. But
It
having
would, but
a few little special magical creatures like her wandering around the Icelandic woods is fine.
it's like salt in food. You don't want to have too much salt in food, but having a little bit helps everything.
Yeah.
So you want to keep stuff small.
It balances out the Hunter S. Thompsons.
There you go.
That's right.
That man is whoo.
Let's see. What is the next thing, and do we care?
No, I don't know.
Let's see. I didn't allocate any time for it, so why don't I just skip it? It's a little weak anyway. So there's this whole thing about where did it go? Did I completely skip something? I did. I suck.
No, you don't. Stop it. You stop it, sir. You
Well,
stop
we have
it.
this. We have this thing on plant-based foods, and I'll just give you the punchline. Essentially, people make all these plant-based foods, but what they found is it doesn't, even when they sell more of these things, they don't actually reduce the amount of meat being sold, which frustrates these people that want to control your diet.
Right.
So in this article, they go on to suggest, well, what we should do is just start putting all the plant-based crap and the cricket flour on sale, and all the meat stuff we should just not put on sale anymore. Let's just not encourage people to buy these things that we don't approve of, and instead, eat the tofurkey. Have you ever had tofurkey?
It's
Yes.
terrible.
No.
Yeah.
Show of hand. Okay, so Sora, you've never had tofurkey.
No,
That's-
I like myself too much.
You should never have tofurkey. No
one
vegan,
should.
See,
no
I've
vegan
had
haggis, no tofurkey.
no. I've had a nut roast, which is a vegan version of like a Sunday roast.
Yeah.
I know it sounds funny. It has like nuts and seeds and everything, and that was delicious.
Giggity.
No soy, no tofu or anything in it. So
That I have
I
more
enjoyed
respect for.
that. That I enjoyed. I mean, I wouldn't change it, but I was curious. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I want to try it. Let's give it a go, right?
Sometimes you just gotta try a nut.
And yeah, it was pretty
Sometimes
good.
you
But
don't.
that's or a bean burger, like it's like black beans and stuff instead of meat or whatever. It's okay, but no, I draw the line of I'm not at like tofurkey or
Yeah.
This should just be called the Journal of Sadness. Look at these products on the side here. Cold and
Oh,
colorful plant-based ice
shared-
cream.
Did
Ugh.
one of you guys share the thing where he was making steak out of lion's mane mushroom?
Oh god, I think I've seen that video, and I don't think anyone.
Or maybe I just saw it scrolling through YouTube Shorts.
I like mushrooms just fine as mushrooms.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, he's like, look at this beautiful vegan garlic butter steak.
It's
And
not a steak.
basically, you're using a lion's head mushroom, which is very cool. I didn't know about it before. I actually want to try it. And the way he cooked it it actually sounds delicious. I love mushrooms. So you basically are just pan frying it over a long period of time because mushrooms have so much moisture in them. And then he uses a vegan compound butter with garlic to eventually make it look, but basically you're burning the shit out of it to make it look like charred steak. And because of the way you cut lion's head or lion's mane or whatever, that kind of mushroom, it kind of gets the shape of a piece of beef, and then when you cut into it, it's gotten that brown color because you've pan fried it.
Harry, I put the video inside chat if you want to look at the short. It's called a lion's mane mushroom. So it's like, well, I can't even eat this because he put lecithin in the marinade, and that screws with my stomach real bad.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Here, let's look at
he uses aminos and stuff like that instead of
Yeah,
Worcestershire
good old
sauce or
Bragg's
whatever.
liquid aminos, because that'll fix everything. Okay, can you see this?
Not yet.
Nope.
Of course.
Are you on the
not.
right screen here, Harry?
Oh, why did you load in the wrong browser? Awesome. Default browser is something else. Okay.
He says a very
Yeah.
funny line in the short, which I think is hilarious. So
You've never had a vegan steak
Yeah, we can hear
as
it.
meaty as this, the lion's mane steak. Let's flavor it up with some water, soy sauce, mushroom
Oh,
seasoning, nooch.
this is a
cocoa
different
powder,
one. This is
pomegranate
better
syrup,
than the one I
molasses,
watched, at least-
lecithin. Blend that up.
Oh,
Now add
God,
some
there was so much
coconut
lecithin.
oil. That's going to emulsify. Look at that. Now we're
just
going
like
to throw
Mom
these
used to
mushrooms into a
make.
tofu press. Cover them up. Let them sit overnight. It's been overnight. Pull them out. Dry them off. Season them like a steak. Throw them in a pan with some vegan butter. Cover them up. Press them down. You have yourselves a lion's mane steak that will literally fool any meat eater. They're going to
No,
love
it
this.
won't.
Now
No,
just look
it
at it.
won't.
Why would
I
you not
promise.
want this?
As a Texan, how do you feel about this claim, Skep?
Well, when I go out on the range roping me some mushrooms,
That steak ain't right, boy.
raising up my lonely dental floss. No, the idea that, well, first of all, that you're going to fool anyone who is not Joe Biden with this, and you probably could not even fool Joe Biden into thinking that this is meat. Don't be absurd. This might be a delicious thing. I'm with Sora on this. I am a mushroom head. I love mushrooms. I love mushrooms prepared in interesting ways. I really do. And And this is this might be a perfectly interesting way to prepare a mushroom, but celebrate it for what it is. It's not a steak. Please don't call it a steak. Please don't call it a porcupine. Please don't call it a rocket ship. It's not any of those things. It's mushroom. Yeah, these kind of.
I've never had lion's testicle mushrooms.
I want to address what Lisa said here. So I can tell you that I have had some vegan things that were exceptionally good, and this is not me advocating for vegan anything, but I've actually had like a vegan tofu cheesecake thing that was very, very close to actual cheesecake. As in, if you ate this, you would not hate your life and constantly be thinking about how you wish you were eating actual cheesecake, which is what that mushroom thing would do to me.
Well,
I've had really good vegan stuff, and I don't particularly mind, what is that? Seitan, Seitan stuff.
Oh, Seitan, yeah.
It's
Japan,
fine, and honestly, if you go camping and you don't want to have to deal with refrigeration, a pack of Lowry's taco mix and some TVP is not the worst thing to hike into the woods with. I will choke that down, but don't tell me that it's steak when it's not steak, because you are not going to fool me. This Impossible Burger stuff is stupid.
Yeah,
well, given all the dairy that they use in baking, I frequent a vegan bakery because I'm allergic to dairy, cow dairy. So, and a lot of that stuff, they make these like imitation Cadbury chocolate egg things. Oh my God, they're so good.
Yeah. Sugar and chocolate are awesome.
Because they use they start at the basics. They start with fresh cacao pods, and they press that, and it's it can be good for what it is. Just stop trying to disguise it as fucking meat, because it's not.
Well, it's like one of the comments on this video was, what did they say? Why are we still trying to fool, air quotes, people into eating vegetable alternatives? Just let them shine on their own without comparing them to anything else, because they're completely different foods. And that's the thing. Like, stop trying to go, this will fool a meat eater. No, it won't.
Yeah, there's so for instance, there's a Chinese dish which I've tried, which was just referred to as Szechuan bean curd. I'm not enough of a wonk that I can tell you what it is in Chinese. I'm one of those if it's in English, fine, or I can give you the number type people. I'm sorry, I'm just not good at Chinese. But Szechuan bean curd is amazing, right? And I've had, agadashi tofu from Japanese food is fantastic. I love me some soy sauce. I mean, lots of things are fantastic. I have no problem with eating plants in abundance. I eat a huge salad with a bunch of fresh vegetables pretty much every day. But don't lie to me about what my food is, because you've got some agenda for the planet. That is not how you're going to get people on your side.
Well, it's also like, why would I like with steak? Part of the enjoyment of steak is that most of the marinades don't take very long, so you can literally just marinate the steak for however long, then throw it on the grill, and you're done. This you have to, in order to get it to the level of the consistency that you need it to be to air quotes fool, you have to soak it overnight in some massively huge like mixture. That's got
if you click, I shared the one that I actually saw also in the sidebar here, and then it just shows you also afterwards how much you have to also like. So he does it a different way, but he keeps pressing down on it to get the liquid out.
Do you want me to play this with or without the sound?
You can do it without the sound, because it's over a minute, so I don't want you guys to get maybe copyright struck.
Vegan garlic butter.
Oh God!
So
it actually looks more like a thing.
Yeah, so it's a whole thing. Now, again, I want to try that because I've never seen this mushroom or eaten it before. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
But it goes on at the end about saying, look at it. It looks exactly like the fibers of a steak, and all that sort of stuff. See, this is how to squish it in place. Like, yeah, because you're burning the heck out of this mushroom. There's vegan compound butter and.
Ugh.
I had steak today. It was good.
I had steak today as well.
Yeah.
Well, the thing
I
is,
had a big bacon cheeseburger for supper.
I had some tiny baked potatoes. Well, potatoes, I'm not going to bake these, so I basically microwaved them up till I could scoop them out, and then I mixed up a bunch of evil with them and put them back together as twice baked potatoes. So I had steak, huge salad, twice baked potatoes, and I had a pastry for lunch. I'm still doing that eat once a day thing. So
Yeah.
it's I do not hold back.
Harry, I've done it for 20 years. I
know,
really recommend it. I absolutely recommend it.
It doesn't look right. It doesn't look right.
I made Swedish meatballs from scratch, and
See, that looks exactly like a ribeye.
Where
You
did you
cannot
find
tell that
the-
from a ribeye.
Well, I want to hear about these meatballs. What were you saying, Functional?
Oh, I made Swedish meatballs from scratch tonight for dinner. Just something simple, quick that I could whip together. I mean, for me. And Elwyn comes. She's like these. She's like, oh my god, these are the second best balls I've put in my mouth.
And you just hear from America, giggity,
giggity
in the wind.
I actually no Serenity. That's why I was laughing, because I'm like, yeah, in the back of my head, I'm just like Serenity, giggity.
Yeah. And then you find out she meant the food court at IKEA. Oh no, crushed.
No, these were
emotional damage.
Dude, what I do is okay, well, it's an entire process, but condensing it for time. Basically, you poach them in French onion soup, and then fry them to get a nice little crispy stuff, and then the rest of the soup you reduce to create a sauce. They're so good. Oh.
Well, this next thing I think actually speaks to you, Functional. If I can.
God.
No, it's okay. There's no video of Kirby making a 2-ingredient
No, I
lasagna.
know,
It's
I know.
nothing like that. That's so. Best before labels scrutinized as food waste concerns grow. Now, these concerns there are people who are concerned that an extra mole or two of methane is going to plunge the planet into an apocalyptic death spiral.
An extra mole? Did you say mole?
I did. So so they're looking at all sorts of ways to deal with food scraps. Like here in California, they've got initiatives going where they want you to separate out all your food scraps and go through even more recycling horseshit to deal with stuff. But that's not the issue here. Right now, they're looking at best before labels scrutinized as food waste concerns grow. The long and short of it is they're saying that these labels are frequently misleading and we're wasting a bunch of food that could, I don't know, feed the homeless or communists or something. I don't know. I'm not sure what their rationale is, but they mostly don't want stuff to end up in a landfill. Now, your mileage may vary, but I've found that most of the labels that I run into, both professionally and the food industry and as a home cook, have been uncannily accurate in most cases. Milk can kind of go over. Sour cream, it's almost like who knows if it's gone off as long as it's not fuzzy. There's a lot of things where the yogurt, buttermilk, how do you know if buttermilk's too old? You don't. But most of the meat things seem to be pretty accurate to me in terms of the estimates.
I mean, meat has a very it's really easy to gauge. It's pretty constant when certain cuts of meat, certain types of animal will last a certain amount of time. We've also there's two big issues here. One is we've sort of consolidated both best before dates and expiry dates. Now, expiry dates means you shouldn't eat this at all once it gets past that point. Again, things like meat, it's going to turn at about this point. Things like dairy, very, very easily perishable foods like this, we can pretty much, like you said, they're pretty much on par. And those would be what I would consider an expiry date. A best before date, like, okay, this carton of eggs, is the best before date, well, it's been a week. Well, they've been sitting in the fridge. They're okay. You crack one egg. Do they look okay? Do they not smell? That's kind of fine. A lot of veg, you can visually see, it'll say best before this time, but, look at it and be like, okay, yeah, no, it's still good. It's still good. The other thing is a lot of places will not let these stores, restaurants, etc., donate food that's past the best before date. So it has to go out into the bin. But again, like I said, a lot of these things like prepared rices and cheeses and stuff you can visually see, and people can make use of it. People who are hungry, who are deserving of this charity, would make use of it right away, and potentially, and you would have a whole lot less waste, and people would get so. Big surprise, government's getting in the way with these regulations that say, nope, can't do it. Well, let's take a step back. Let's reevaluate what could be considered an expiry date, a best before label, and blah, 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 blah. You can't get rid of the best before dates or expand them beyond what these companies and their scientists have determined is a good cutoff point, or a good a point at which things might need to be a little bit more scrutinized before you consume them. I think they know what they're doing. You can't extend that label either, because that's their liability. That's the grocers, that's the food producers. They don't want to sell you a bad tub of cream cheese and then get sued.
Yeah. Well, how you can buy something with a 1-year warranty, some piece of electronics, and then 3 days after the warranty ends, then it breaks. And you're just SOL, because they know, reliability and maintainability engineers know with pretty good accuracy how long something is likely to last, right? And so it's like an actuarial insurance thing. When it comes to food, it's a little bit harder, but you'd be surprised if you give somebody a loaf of Wonder Bread, or just, that mass-produced sort of stuff. They have assumptions about the temperature it's held at. They know what the moisture is coming out of the factory. They know they've added all kinds of stabilizers and things to retard spoilage and staleness. And they know with a pretty good accuracy within a few days when that's going to go from being, the Wonder Bread that kids love to crap.
They've got a lot of data on that.
They've got a lot of data on it. And these food scientist people really aren't stupid.
No, they're, like you said, they're almost entirely accurate, which is great. It's great that we've come to this point. So if something goes to waste, it sucks, but what are you going to do?
Well, I think we need to kind of do, at least for prepared foods, like packaged and prepared foods, not like meat or milk or anything like that. Do kind of what Japan and Korea do. A lot of their convenience stores, on the day the thing goes bad, they mark it down. Like that day, like if it's going to go bad today, if this is the best sell by date, we're marking it at half price, and the shit's gone in 20 minutes. Because a lot of people, that's how it was very. Oh boy,
Sora's
broke up there a little bit, Sora. So you may want to repeat.
There you go. You're back.
Am I back?
Yeah,
I was going to say the UK does exactly the same. I saw this in London. Like if you go to a grocery store and stuff like that, at the end of the evening, all the the meal kit stuff, like the sandwiches, all that sort of stuff. A lot of them have you have a clearing label, or there's certain chains. There's a couple of different grab and go Japanese chains there that if you go the last half hour before they close, everything's 50% off, because raw fish.
Good way to get rid of it.
Yeah, they have to throw it out, otherwise they can't just. And then I've seen lineups, people, and business people, because it's like this is their lunch for the next day or their breakfast or whatever, right?
Even here. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say that there's ways of doing it. It's to reduce waste. It's just, I don't know why we don't, at least here, there's not much of an incentive to do it, because people yell.
Well, they don't let
poison.
it. Health Canada doesn't allow it anymore.
Yeah.
They used to, Timmy Ho's used to do that with their donuts and other pastries at the end of the day. Like when, the last hour before they have to throw them out, they used to, bag them up and be like, okay, here's a dozen quote unquote day old donuts that, you get them for a quarter of the price. They're recouping some costs. They're ensuring that the people are going to buy these, because they, you would have people who would know, okay, at 11 o'clock, they're going to start doing that, the markdown. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be a thrifty shopper. I'm going to buy stuff. I'm going to get a lot of whatever that I can consume that day, or maybe over the next day and a half. And it's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, instead of it ending up in a landfill and being turned into methane, we can just eat it and turn it into methane ourselves.
But by the way, a mole of methane weighs 16 grams. There are 28 grams in 1 ounce. Just let everybody know.
Yeah.
How
Why
little
don't I
you're
know
talking
that?
Yeah.
Drug dealing told me all I
junior
need
high
to know
school
about
chemistry.
weight.
Let's
Oh yes,
see.
high school chemistry. That's what it was, Harry.
Junior high school chemistry. But yeah, let me.
Junior high school? What the fuck is junior high school?
Don't
The
make
seventh
fun of
and
my
eighth grade.
chemistry.
Up here we have grade school and high school.
Oh yeah.
In America, we have an elementary, middle school, junior high, sometimes in high school.
There you go.
There's
Anyway,
Yes, we are. In
I
more
know.
ways than one.
the U.S. is so cringe. Okay. Anyway.
Oh my god.
Hell yeah.
So here is a fine article, which we're not going to go through, but stability of active ingredients in long expired prescription medications. This will come as a shock to you, I'm sure, but the U.S. military has stockpiles of all kinds of drugs that they need and medications. And so back around 2006 or 2002, they started looking at, they have these Best By dates on these. Are they actually correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was they found in an old pharmacy that closed down a bunch of drugs that were 28 to 40 years expired. And they tested them back in 2012.
Oh, snapsies.
And you would be surprised how much of the goodie was actually less. So, codeine, 7.5 milligrams is what was supposed to be in there. You know how much was left? 7.4 milligrams. You can make purple drink out of that, no problem. Barbitol held up just fine. Aspirin degrades like crazy. It just basically turns into vinegar.
Right.
So
exactly.
aspirin does not hold on. Caffeine, they actually measured more caffeine after the fact in this thing. That could just be a manufacturing error. But codeine.
It doesn't make itself.
Amphetamines, lost about half of the goodness out of those.
Dang it.
Pentobarbital, held up just fine. Seconal, why not?
So
a
when you
whole
need
bunch
to
of a whole bunch of
Wait. Let's take a quick look at.
I knew this would get your attention, Skep.
This is fascinating. Hold
Phenobarbital.
leave it right there.
Okay.
And all right, we see aspirin getting reduced to nothing because what happens is the acetyl salicylic acid, which is what's going on. It breaks down intermediately to acetic acid, which is what you smell. That's why aspirin bottles have a sour smell to them. And then that's on the way to CO2 and H2O, by the way, which is what aspirin actually turns into. The caffeine, that's weird. I don't understand that. It doesn't make itself. So what? Doesn't exactly give me a lot of
Get your caffeine from McDonald's.
happiness, and makes me wonder about their methods, honestly.
Well, the standard deviation is there. So I mean, a lot of this could just be the manufacturer.
Yeah. I was looking at that.
But there are some drugs that you definitely do not want to use if they've expired. I think tetracycline is one of them.
But look at what's that?
I think tetracycline turns into something dangerous that doesn't work. That not only doesn't work, but is actually dangerous if you
It
use
certainly
that after the
does.
fact.
Oxytetracycline, the primary metabolites are very dangerous, and that is the first breakdown. That is absolutely right.
But things like nitroglycerin, tetracycline, there are a lot of things you shouldn't do. But we throw away a huge amount of stuff. Every now and then, the FDA will come out and say, "Oh, it's totally fine for you to use this after this batch or these batches after the sell-by date because we've tested them. It's okay." But we're wasting so much money on what are effectively really arbitrary dates for a lot of these drugs, far more than we probably are on the food thing from the previous article. Because 1/6 of our economy is medical right now in the United States. We spend 1/6 of our GDP on medicine. And a lot of that is on pharmaceuticals. And we throw away a ton of stuff that we probably don't need to.
Just FYI, when I was back in business school back in 1985, the the statistic everybody knew back then was that we spent 1/7 of our GDP on medical. It's interesting how that's changed 1/7 to 1/6.
We're more humane now, Skep. That's the thing. You guys didn't care about your fellow man, but
bigger
the world is
contracts,
becoming,
bigger companies.
yeah, the world's becoming a more civilized place. But it's not always the case that these things hold up. So, for instance, this happened recently. A bunch of methotrexate that got shipped off to take care of kids in Yemen didn't work so well. At least 10 child leukemia patients in Yemen have died, and dozens more left seriously ill after being administered expired doses of cancer treatment in the rebel-held capital, medical officials and workers said on Friday. Yemen's ruinous conflict, now entering its 8th year, has caused one of the world's worst humanitarian crises and killed in excess of 150,000 people. Yeah, this is pretty rough. This is, was it? I thought it was methotrexate. Now, methotrexate was one of, if not the first chemo drug that they came out with. And it interferes with, I think, a key route with some B vitamin that's needed for the certain cancer cell multiplication. It's an amazing drug. Used in low doses, it actually helps people with certain autoimmune diseases. Like as a low dose eye drop, there's a number of people with autoimmune eye disorders that benefit from methotrexate. It's a very useful drug. But, I'm not trying to suggest that we just willy-nilly have people go out using expired drugs to save money, because you have to know what you're doing or people die. And that's the only reason why I brought up this story, because I don't want people to think that I'm just waving my hands around going, ooh, just use the expired drugs, it'll be fine. You got to know what you're doing.
Maybe we should reevaluate, but our respective governments should maybe take a look at what amounts have we been using and try to get it a little closer to that goal. Obviously, you want to have a little extra because, as the pandemic showed us, things can sell out quite quickly. Even something as simple as aspirin can disappear off shelves. So we do want to have a little stockpile, but maybe we're buying too much, and too much is going to waste because we're buying too much.
No, Biden should just empty the stockpile to drive healthcare costs down.
Government should just
that would make sense before the election. Anyway, moving on to the next thing, because we have just a few.
By the way, you might just be interested. Methotrexate inhibits enzymes responsible for nucleotide synthesis. That's the way that it prevents cell division, and it also probably has an anti-inflammatory.
Oh, it does. Methotrexate is a very interesting drug, and it has a better safety profile than scopolamine.
Yeah.
Which is the other thing that people frequently use.
Yeah.
Okay. Scopolimine's more for transplant patients and things like that. But methotrexate used in low doses is actually very useful for a lot of things. In higher doses, they still use it to treat certain types of childhood leukemia and stuff.
Yeah. Interestingly, it's not a corticosteroid.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's non-steroidal completely.
And I do believe it is the first chemotherapy agent that we discovered. I may be confused.
Vincristine.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, don't listen to Harry. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well,
electrical stuff.
I'll tell you in a minute. I'll report myself.
No. We're not doing that tonight. We're already behind schedule. Okay. All right. So the Pentagon grapples with how to defend military women from Tucker Carlson's insults. This is an actual article in the Huffington Post. Yes, you heard me right. Secretary of the Army Christine Wormuth on Friday called for military leaders to stand up for women amid a roiling Defense Department controversy over how to respond to vicious criticism of female soldiers by Fox News host Tucker Carlson. A fierce debate was triggered after Major General Patrick Donahoe was recently scolded by the Army and his retirement put on hold for defending female soldiers, with one of his tweets last year calling out Carlson. Retired Colonel Don't Care, Vindman, the twin brother of retired other Vindman, who testified at Donald Trump's first impeachment investigation during his presidency, lashed out last month at the treatment of Donahoe by an Army cowed by the political right because he stood up to Fox, Tucky. Yeah, Skep, what do you think? The Army's cowed by the political right, aren't they? Isn't that the current state of the U.S. Army?
Yeah, it's completely intimidated.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
The Pentagon and the Army are lost. They fear the right. Yevgeny Vindman tweeted, "They are losing their moral compass and service members will vote with their feet." Yeah. Because totally we're going to send people into combat that are so fragile that the mutterings of Tucker Carlson are enough to be literally violence against them. I haven't looked at HuffPost for a while, but I was shocked by how incredibly stupid it was.
And the good female soldiers don't give a shit. They're just like,
The good female soldiers don't give a shit, and I know some of them.
Yeah, same.
The daughter of the guy who made the caffeinated coffee with the caffeinated water is one of them.
Yeah.
She enjoyed the free
She got
ammunition,
into the
but
army.
she was actually a trainer, and her job was going around the world training people how to do like interdiction and peacekeeping stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like explaining rules of engagement and how to do all that sort of stuff. You know, and she's a damn fine officer. So I don't have a problem with women being in the military per se, but you know, these pink-haired snowflake women, outrage brigade, grievance study graduates are not the kind of people that we need representing us in a real fight.
Well, I mean, it's like comic books. They're not the ones buying the comic books, and they're not the ones joining the military. So it's one of those things. This is it's a phantom. It's bullshit done by someone who's trying to gear up either a political thing or trying to get a job because they want to get out of the military. So they're trying to talk about something that's outrageous. This way they can get a job at CNN or MSNBC after they retire or something. Like, it's all just political bullshit.
It is all political bullshit, but since I did go to the Huffington Post, I did find two more articles from the Huffington Post to finish the night with. New York congressional candidate releases sex-positive porn video starring him.
Is he at least attractive? Nope. I can already see his age. No.
Is this Jerry Nadler?
It's the guy running against Nadler.
Oh, good Christ.
For the Democrat, is like he's a Democrat or is he a Republican?
Oh.
Well, he's okay. A quirky New York congressional candidate has released a 13-minute porn tape featuring himself to highlight one of his 3 campaign issues, sex positivity.
Please don't be a libertarian.
A local online publication called it a grunt for attention. Independent candidate Mike Hitkiss, a 53-year-old cybersecurity expert, is running far behind longtime Democrat the Nads. Let's see. His key sex positivity goals include legalizing sex work and protecting sexual rights. He also supports cybersecurity and ending the war in Ukraine. Well, there's a reason.
Henry, what are sexual rights?
I don't know. Are those positive or negative?
Yeah. Sex posse.
Yeah.
Well, you see, Harry, when a positive charge loves a negative charge very, very much,
no one
they
comes.
annihilate
hold
each other.
hands. They annihilate each other.
I love this article. He's not married, has no kids, is not celibate, and is an atheist, according to his campaign website.
There we go.
Okay,
he said he doesn't
weird about
believe
this
men
guy.
should be required to support biological children unless there's a prior agreement. He doesn't.
I do agree
He
with
doesn't
that.
address birth control on his website. Okay.
Oh God. Oh, I looked him up. Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Send me the link. Send me the link.
I don't want to. Oh God. Let me just.
Well, I mean, don't if you think it's a bad idea.
Well, no, I'm just trying to find a picture where it's just him.
Any
There's
press
only
is
the
good
beginning
press.
Of the. There we go. That's just a whoo. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I was trying to find one that didn't have the beginning of the sex tape in it. That's what I was.
Yeah. Let's not do that.
No. I found one that.
Did you say heyo?
I said ew.
Oh, because if you said heyo, that would be awesome.
Yeah, he looks like
heyo.
Literally.
You are correct, sir.
There's a YouTube video. I hope it doesn't autoplay for you, Harry, because it's just the news report. That's all it is. But
Well, they're not going to have the
I know,
sex
that's
tape
what I'm
in
just-
the YouTube video, right?
Sometimes I'm surprised about some of the bullshit. Even
can't be reached.
I'm looking at it.
Well,
What'd you do, Harry? What'd you do?
oh, your URL foo is busted, Serenity.
No, it's not. You
It
shut
is.
your mouth.
You can see what this guy looks like.
https://www.https://
I think it tried to
broken.
send me to
I've got his
multiple.
picture
There it
shared
is.
out there.
Skep's got
There
it
it
figured
is.
out, right?
There it
There's
is.
our boy.
Okay.
He looks
And
like
there
a
he
penis.
is. There he is.
This
starting.
seems
This is the
like
start
a
of the
cry
video
for
and
help,
these other-
Skep.
Look like a penis.
Yes, it does.
Is he just using this to try to get laid? I feel like his campaign is not really entirely serious.
No, it's not. This is all about getting publicity for sex workers and so forth.
Oh,
and,
no.
Yeah, no, that's
What-
all.
no,
about-
I'm
he's
saying-
not seriously trying to get.
I'm saying oh no because he's a third-party congressional candidate and he's a former Army cyber operations officer.
Okay,
course he
next. Next.
Jesus, what
Well,
is
somebody
fuck is wrong with
defeat
Army
penguins.
guys?
Michigan home inspector convicted after masturbating with client's Elmo doll.
Ew.
Oh.
So apparently this guy was a home inspector and he went into somebody's house to do the home inspection and just the moment took him.
He
decided Tickle Me
No,
Elmo
not-
was an invitation.
You know,
Not
I don't
Elmo.
really
I mean-
believe in phrenology, but sometimes I kind of phrenology.
Tickle me elbow.
Tickle Me Elmo. It's not.
He's got the
it's not-
cockeyed,
It's not consent.
twisted nose.
This is in
long,
Michigan.
Good.
Head.
Nothing good going on there.
Kevin Wayne Van Leuven of Clarkston, Michigan, was convicted Wednesday during a one-day trial, but acquitted on another charge: malicious destruction of property. Elmo's seen things.
Elmo needs to go on a long, long vacation.
Apparently the webcam in the nursery detected that somebody was in there.
Oh,
When
God,
when the
ew.
owner pulled up the webcam alert, they saw this guy tickling Elmo.
Maybe he's just running for Congress.
Yeah,
Apparently.
yeah, maybe. Anyway, so that was a thing that happened.
2 years in prison.
I'm
Elmo
sorry.
is not sex positive.
For
No, he is
wandering Elmo.
So anyway, that's the show for tonight. Anybody have any final thoughts before we vamoose for the
Me
evening?
Elmo.
Did Jack fall
I
asleep?
hate people.
No.
No, Jack's
Okay.
there. He's just low energy Jack Gunski.
I'm sorry.
He's
No,
not-
I'm just trying to keep my mouth shut.
Did you have a good time, Jack?
Yes.
Good.
You
Thank for
Roger
coming
your
on.
Elmo?
Serenity, you got anything?
Nope, I just laughed at Functional's joke.
Functional?
Have a good night. Have your pet spayed or neutered. I'm
Yeah.
Bob Parker.
And don't touch the showgirls.
Sora,
Hey,
you got anything for us on the way out?
what's up?
What's up?
What's up?
Skep?
70 is not so bad.
All right.
Feels a lot like 69. Ba-dum-tum!
Thank you for joining us tonight. This has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday, and the zoo's closed. Good night.
That's all, folks.
Fuck off.